The question I have is 510 divided by 4. The 510 is the dividend, the 4 is the divisor, and the answer I will be finding out is the quotient.
For my equation, I'm going to be using the estimation strategy of rounding down. The first step in estimation is making your number easier so you can have an assumption of what the answer is going to be. So I'm going to round down and make my equation 500 divided by 4. In order to solve 500 divided by 4, you can use your multiplication strategies. So, for example, I know that 4 times 100 is equal to 400. I also know that 4 times 110 is equal to 440. And I know that 4 multiplied by 125 is equal to 500. So this tells me this 500 and this 500 linked together, which gives me the answer to this question as 125. 125 is then my estimation. So I know the answer to 510 divided by 4 will be 125 or more. And I know it's going to be more because I rounded down to start off my estimation. Now I'm going to be using the base 10 block strategy for solving a division question. So as you can see here, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 100 blocks, and 1 10 block. This gives me 510. Now, because I'm dividing by 4, I need to break up my blocks into 4 equal groups. So I will put 100 block into each group. Here I have 400 blocks in each group, which leaves me with 1 left over. So in order to break this up into the 4 groups, I need to exchange it for some 10 blocks. So I need to grab 10 blocks because 10 blocks equals 100. I now have 10 blocks here, but I technically have 11 because I had 1 from before that made my original 510. I'm going to divide these 10 blocks into each group evenly. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, which leaves me with 3 left over, and 3 10 blocks cannot be divided equally into 4 groups. I have my 31 blocks, and I'm going to divide them into the 4 groups. 1, 4, 1, 2, which leaves me with 2 1 blocks left over, and 2 of these 1 blocks cannot go into the 4 groups evenly. I'm going to be solving the question pictorially using base 10 blocks. So I have my 5 blocks and my 1 10 block, and I'm going to divide them into the 4 groups. I divided the 100 blocks into all 4 groups, which leaves me with the 1 that's left over. So I now need to break up that 100 block into 10 rods so they can be divided into the 4 groups. I now have 11 10 rods because I exchanged the 100 block for 10 rods, and I had 1 left over from before. So I am now going to split up the 10 rods into the 4 groups. Here pictorially, I have 3 10 blocks left over. So in order to divide these 3 10 blocks in evenly, I'm going to need to exchange them into some 1 cubes. I had 3 10 blocks left remaining. I had to split them into 1 cubes. So I needed 31 cubes. And now, as you can see here pictorially, I have 31 cubes on my paper. I'm going to split up the 31 cubes into each group evenly. I divided all of the 31 blocks into the 4 groups evenly, except I am left with 2 left over, and 2 1 blocks cannot be divided into 4 groups evenly. The number of blocks in each group, we have 100, 2 10s, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 1s, which leaves us with 127 blocks in each group. I had 2 up here that were left over. That gives me a remainder of 2, which leaves our answer at 127 remainder 2. Symbolic personal strategy, I will be using the estimate and subtract strategy. I have to estimate and think of a number that can be multiplied by 4 but is lower than 510. Estimation, I'm going to use 100 because 100 multiplied by 4 is equal to 400. 500 minus 400 is equal to 110. What I'm going to make is 25. 4 multiplied by 25 equals 100. It is subtracted by 110. That gives you 10 left over. What we're going to estimate with is 2. 4 multiplied by 2 is 8. Subtract 8 from 10, you get 2. Out our quotient, we need to add up the numbers that we multiplied by. All of the estimations are added up, we get 127. So we know our answer is 127 with a remainder 2. From using this strategy, the estimate and subtract strategy can basically work with any division question because all you are doing is estimating and multiplying the numbers together.